management.
Wall Street closes out the week on a solid note with a day of good gains all around. Investors accentuate the positive, another drop in oil prices, and eliminate the negative, a huge slump in consumer confidence. The Dow closes up 83 points, the Nasdaq gains 14.
President Bush says he's confident the country can pay for the reconstruction of the Gulf course after Katrina, and he won't raise taxes to do it. The rebuilding effort could put the federal government deeper into debt by $200 billion or more.
U.S. Airways clears a major hurdle in its flight out of bankruptcy court, and it's not the only airline making progress today to close the book on Chapter 11.
Tonight's Market Monitor guest says stocks are facing post-Katrina headwinds, so don't expect the market to make much progress in the next few months. He's John Dorfman, president of Dorfman Investments.
I'm Paul Kangas.
And I'm Susie Garrett. This is Nightly Business Report for Friday, September 16th.
Nightly Business Report is made possible by
Don't let your nest egg get away from you. Objective financial advice can help. A.G. Edwards, for 118 years, fully invested in our clients.
Franklin Templeton Investments, providing a unique perspective through the specialized investment expertise of Franklin Templeton Mutual Series and Fiduciary Trust. Franklin Templeton Investments, gain from our perspective. This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Investors on Wall Street were upbeat about stocks today, even though American consumers are downbeat about the economy. The Dow surged 83 points and the Nasdaq rose 14. The major averages remained high even after the release of a report from the University of Michigan showing that consumer sentiment plunged in September because of concerns about the economic impact of Hurricane Katrina. Scott Gervey has details.
In the wake of Hurricane Katrina, consumer confidence has plunged to a level lower than the reading following the 9/11 attack. The University of Michigan's confidence index dropped sharply to 76.9 for the first part of September from 89.1 in August, according to sources who saw the subscription-only report. In addition, expectations about the future, as measured by the survey, fell to 63.6 from 76.9. That's a 13-year low. Analysts say Hurricane Katrina has given consumers good reason to be pessimistic, with the estimated costs of rebuilding rising even as the floodwaters recede. Consumers are already feeling the pinch of higher prices at the gas pumps and preparing to change their budgets in anticipation of higher prices for energy during the winter heating season.
September's plunge by consumer sentiment doesn't promise that a precipitous decline by consumer spending impends. What it does do is warn us that unless energy prices drop significantly, we could be facing a sharply slower rate of growth for consumer spending, and with that, the possibility of a stalled economy.
The Michigan survey also reported a sharp increase in short-term inflation expectations. The Federal Reserve tends to look more closely at long-term expectations for inflation, which rose by a smaller amount in the report. Still, the Fed will have to consider today's report when it meets to review interest rates on Tuesday.
I think right now it's a very close call as to whether the Fed would pause or go forward with its regular 25 basis point hikes. And I doubt that the consumer sentiment numbers will prove decisive in that decision.
The University of Michigan says steep and widespread declines in confidence have often triggered recessions. But analysts are quick to point out the current situation is not typical and say the current decline could indicate a short-term shock from which the economy can recover. Scott Garvey, Nightly Business Report, New York.
Stocks opened on a fairly strong note with the help of lower oil prices and brokerage upgrades on ExxonMobil and Intel. The Dow rose 50 points at the outset of trading. The Nasdaq gained 6. That sharp drop in consumer sentiment caused a mid-morning fade, but the market came on strong again thanks to buying linked to the quarterly expiration of futures contracts and stock options, known as the quadruple witching. The Dow Industrial Average gained 83.19 points to 10,641.94 today. This week it fell twice, rose 3 times, had a net loss, nevertheless, of 36.62 points. The NASDAQ Composite was up 14.20 today at 2160.35. It rose twice and fell 3 times this week for a net loss of 15.16 points. The Standard & Poor's 500 index rose 10.18 to close at 1237.91 today. In the bond market, the 10-year note fell 16/32 to 99 and 25/32, lifting the yield to 4.28%. President Bush says the U.S. budget will handle the cost of rebuilding the Gulf Coast after Hurricane Katrina, and taxes won't have to be raised to pay for it. It's going to be expensive. The Department of Homeland Security told Congress today it has spent almost $14 billion so far on Katrina's rebuilding efforts. But as Darren Gersh reports, paying for another effort, one to house the evacuees, is getting thorny.
Critics on the right and left say the administration's new urban homestead program isn't likely to be much help for victims of Hurricane Katrina. The Federal Bureau of Land Management says it has very little property in the hardest hit areas, and much of the federal land in the Gulf Coast is most likely already being used for hospitals or other federal office buildings. Critics also say the job of rebuilding an entire city and region can best be done by private corporations.
I didn't understand last night why the president didn't call on some of the major builders, some of the major developers, some of whom are in the Southeast, the major banks and financial institutions. Let's put our heads together here to try to rebuild a city, not go a quarter acre at a time.
The Bush administration disagrees, saying there are as many as 4,000 homes and condominiums the federal government has repossessed in the Gulf region that could be used to turn displaced renters into owners.
We believe that there's a lot of stock available, at least to get a Homesteading Act initiative off the ground and to provide opportunity for some families to have a piece of the American dream.
Conservatives are particularly concerned by FEMA's plan to buy thousands of mobile homes for temporary shelters, which they fear will force evacuees into modern-day Hoovervilles.
You end up putting them in some obscure part of the countryside, so people aren't going to be near jobs, and you create another version of a less satisfactory public housing project.
But the White House has promised to work with state and local officials to make sure the families who left behind flooded slums return to more livable communities.
We're very committed to making sure that this is a home ownership opportunity for them and to make sure that this is improving their lives and not worsening them.
It's still not clear how much all this will cost or how many families may benefit. That will depend on whether Congress embraces the administration's idea for urban homesteading. Darren Gersh, Nightly Business Report, Washington.
What's the biggest short-term threat facing the economy? Soaring energy prices edged out terrorism, according to a new survey of business economists. The National Association for Business Economics canvass, done after Hurricane Katrina, shows 30% of respondents now say energy prices are the biggest risk to immediate growth. That's up from 11% in the last survey in March. But looking long-term, the survey shows healthcare costs are still the biggest challenge economists see, and that was also the top concern in the last survey 6 months ago. Well, earlier today, I talked with John Sylvia, chief economist of Wachovia Bank and the lead analyst of the survey. He explained why high energy prices are the major worry.
Well, the first thing that's kind of interesting about the energy risk is they've been rising over time, steadily, in contrast to other risks in the economy which have gone up and down. And I think economists right now are saying that we don't know really how much energy prices are going up. We don't know the availability of those prices, and this bothers a lot of people because it's reminiscent of what we saw in the 1970s.
Now, John, we saw a report today showing that consumer confidence has fallen to its lowest level in 13 years, and a lot of that is because of high gasoline prices. So what's your take on that? Are these high prices a short-term threat to the economy, or could it have a longer impact?
Well, right in the short run, the current level of prices is having an impact. If I think as we looked at the University of Michigan survey, these prices start to get embedded in people's expectations about sustained high level of prices, uncertain availability. It will impact the potential growth rate of the economy, will impact and means higher inflation over the next year or two.
Now, budget deficits were also high on the worry list of the economists in your survey. What impact do you think the rebuilding of the Gulf Coast and all the promises we heard from President Bush last night of the government offering financial assistance, what impact is all of that going to have on deficits?
This debate on promises has just started to boil up in the last day or two. There's a sense of, are we really giving a blank check in terms of the federal government spending for rebuilding? And ultimately, does the American taxpayer have the ability to pay the bills for all that rebuilding? It's really a very difficult choice in the economy. The bond market, the currency markets, certainly the inflation expectations in the commodity markets are all going to have a say in terms of, are we able to finance all these promises?
Moving along, 65% of the economists you surveyed believe that Fed policy so far has been just about right, but they were split on where things go from here. 48% said more rate hikes, 42% saying, hold steady. What do you think is going to happen at the Tuesday meeting?
I think personally that the Fed will raise the federal funds rate 25 basis points in September. But we are at the point, in looking at the history of the survey over the last year or so, you can see that most economists feel we're getting closer and closer to neutral all the time. Less and less of a case for the Fed to be aggressive in terms of raising rates going forward. So I think the Fed has basically gotten us very close to neutral.
John, just to wrap things up, put your whole survey in perspective for us, looking at the questions, looking at the answers from all the economists you talked to. What is the state of the U.S. economy?
The state of the current economy looks pretty solid. When we had the shock of Katrina, certainly it hit the economy when it was growing at or near trend growth. The more difficult issue, though, with going forward is, again, getting at the deeper structural issues of energy availability, energy costs, and the transportation issues associated with Katrina.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll leave it there. Really appreciate you coming to talk to us about this.
Thank you very much for asking.
Now let's take a look at some stocks in the news tonight. New York Exchange volume leader on a hefty 83.6 million shares, Walmart losing 45 cents a share. Standard & Poor's has lowered the weighting of Walmart stock on the Standard & Poor's 500 index from 7th to 16th, so it'll have less of an impact on the movement in the 500. News Corp A was up 18 cents. Then we see Time Warner rising 40 cents. Speculation continues that Microsoft might seek a stake in Time Warner's AOL unit. GE a 9-cent gain. Pfizer 20-cent rise there. That was fifth in volume. ExxonMobil gained $1.24. Deutsche Bank Securities upgraded it from hold to buy on the belief that oil supplies are likely to remain tight for the coming year. Citigroup 38-cent gain. McDonald's moved up 79 cents. Rumor making the rounds that a hedge fund called Pershing Square Capital Management has taken a 4.9% stake in McDonald's. Bank of America 95-cent gain. 10th in volume was Tyco International with a 61-cent rise. Imagistics International jumping $8.91. A Dutch firm called Océ is going to acquire this company for $42 a share in cash. Then came Corning, up 68 cents a share. Merrill Lynch upgraded it from neutral to buy. It's impressed by the company's LCD operations in Japan. Then came the golds. Anglo Gold Limited up $1.75. New York December gold contract up $4 to $463.30 the ounce. That's a 17-year high. Let's look at some other gold stocks, all on the upside. Goldfields and Harmony fractional gains, but good percentages in Newmont and Placer Dome, both up over $1 each. Owens, Illinois dropped $1.47. The company looks that 2005 earnings will fall below the low end of its guidance, which was $1.76. The high was $2 a share, but it's going to be below $1.76. Annalee Mortgage Management, one of the big percentage losers, off $1.83. The company cut its third quarter dividend by 64%. It paid 36 cents in the second quarter. It'll pay only 13 in the third quarter. The company says that because of pressure on net interest rate spreads. H.B. Fuller down $3.70. J.P. Morgan downgraded it from overweight to just a neutral rating. And Annixter up $2.73. The company set a special dividend of $4 a share. Potlatch Corp up $2.94. Bank of America upgraded it from neutral to buy. And then Massey Energy rising $3.37. Jana Partners LLC has a 6.5% stake in the company, wants it to do a big stock buyback. Microsoft topped the NASDAQ actives down 20 cents. Google a $2.42 drop. Intel up 26 cents. CS First Boston upgraded it from underperformed to neutral. Oracle was a 12-cent loss, and then Cisco 39-cent gainer. That was fifth in volume. Apple Computer up $1.34. eBay dropped 55 cents. Amgen gained $1.28. Qualcomm a gain of 107, and Dell 10th in volume edged up 21 cents. Adobe Systems up $2.53 after the close yesterday. Third quarter earnings 29 cents, up from 21 a year ago, 2 cents above the street estimate. And finally, we see a big gain in Hologic, up $6.52. The New England Journal of Medicine study found that digital mammography, in which the company has a 40% share of the market, is significantly more accurate than film-based technology among women under the age of 50. Those are the stocks in the news tonight. Susie?
Paul, U.S. Airways is revving up for major changes in its financial flight plan by getting out of bankruptcy. A federal judge approved today the carrier's plan to emerge from Chapter 11 and merge with America West Airlines. Those moves could happen before the end of this month. It means U.S. Airways will finish its second bankruptcy restructuring in the last 3 years and, combined with America West, become the fifth largest domestic airline by passenger volume. U.S. Airways says it now has a robust business plan, a low-cost structure, and a strong cash position. United Airlines is also in a strong position in its plans to emerge from bankruptcy. Today, a judge in Chicago gave it a tentative green light to exit Chapter 11 early next year. A final hearing to review the carrier's financial plan has been set for mid-January. United also says it's going to review its flight schedules for possible cuts in service. But those decisions won't be made until other carriers, including the now bankrupt Delta and Northwest, decide whether to cut their capacity.
Monday, think gasoline is too expensive now? How about tacking an additional tax onto its price?
Here's a look at what's happening next week. Our Friday Market Monitor guest is Elaine Garzarelli, president of Garzarelli Capital. On the economic calendar, Tuesday, the Federal Reserve meets to decide on interest rates. Also on Tuesday, housing starts for August. Thursday, August leading economic indicators come out. And as for earnings, Carnival, Nike, Circuit City, Goldman Sachs, FedEx, KB Home, and Morgan Stanley are among those scheduled to report.
My guest market monitor this week is John Dorfman, president of Dorfman Investments, which is based in Newton, Massachusetts. And John, welcome back to Nightly Business Report.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much.
Well, as we know, the stock market has been facing a lot of negatives lately, everything from the high price of oil and rising interest rates, the looming deficit, and of course the devastation in the Gulf Coast region by Hurricane Katrina. How do you grade the stock market's behavior during all of this?
I've been surprised it's held up as well, frankly. I've been kind of pleasantly surprised at the strength, but I still feel there's a chance for unpleasant surprises in the remaining 3 months of the year. You know, New Orleans could prove more complicated than we hope. There's always the risk of unpleasant surprises on terrorism, although there's also the possibility of a pleasant surprise if we ever capture bin Laden. And the Fed, I think, may be unfriendly. So I think we're going to be down about maybe 5% the rest of the year would be my guess.
Are you implying by that statement you just made the Fed is going to continue to boost interest rates next week?
I am implying that. I know that many people feel they will ease off on their program of raising rates because of the hurricane, but I think that they've kind of made up their mind, and I doubt that they will be swayed by that consideration.
With the boost, they're not going to win any public relations contest, are they?
No, but it's not near an election, so this is a good time for the Fed to be unpopular.
That's a good point. How about oil prices? Are they topping out, do you believe?
It does appear that they're topping out. I have been a bull on energy stocks for 4 or 5 years now, and I think we're in maybe the 7th inning. I don't think that the price of oil is going to rise much more, but I think that at $45, $50 a barrel, oil companies can make just terrific profits.
Okay, now during your last visit in early April, you gave our viewers 5 stock recommendations. Let's have a look at how they've fared since. Ducommun Incorporated, which is in the aerospace business, up 7.6%. Devon Energy had a big time, up almost 26%. Are you still with those?
We've sold Ducommun, but we continue to hold Devon.
Okay, let's have a look at some of the others you recommended back in April. Commercial Metal is down just 1% or so. Are you still with it?
Yes, I like that stock very much.
Okay, and Merchant Bank Shares, a Vermont firm, up 4.3%. Not bad. Still like it?
Yep.
You
yep,
do?
That's a long-term holding.
And there was one other that you said short. Go short, and that was Fannie Mae. It shows down 9.4%, which is really a profit to you, since you said, you know, shorted at 53 1/4. And are you still on the short side?
We have covered the position at a profit, but if I had to be either long or short right now, I personally would rather be short.
Okay. Do you have some new recommendations?
Oh, of course. I'd love to give you those. I'll start with Armor Holdings.
Okay.
They make armor for tanks and armor for people, that is bullet-resistant vests.
Okay. Looks like the stock has had a recent little weakness, but overall is doing pretty well. Okay. Let's have a number 2.
Number 2 would be, I'd like to repeat my recommendation of Devon Energy. It's mostly in natural gas, and I think the United States has a shortage of that.
We know that. Number 3?
Number 3, I'd like to recommend Endurance Specialty Holdings, which is a reinsurance company. It's been knocked down a bit by the hurricane because they're going to have to pay out a lot of claims, but I think it will bounce back nicely.
Okay, and then let's have one more. I think we have time for 2 more if we hurry.
Okay, I'll hurry with my next long, which is Schnitzer Steel. Steel industry is very cheap, very unpopular, and I like that.
Okay.
And then I'll close with another short recommendation. And this time, instead of shorting Fannie Mae, I would like to short Winnebago.
It's already had quite
a price of gas.
Had quite a decline already, but you'd short it even at this area in the low 30s.
Yes, it's down 9% for the year, and I think there's more.
All right. Do you or your firm have positions in all these stocks, John?
Yes, we do.
Okay. John, thank you very much for your insight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.
My guest, John Dorfman of Dorfman Investments.
And recapping today's market action, a slide in oil prices sends stocks heading higher. The Dow gains 83 points and the Nasdaq climbs 14. To learn more about the stories in tonight's broadcast, go to nvr.com. And finally tonight, IBM says It is growing concerned about a growing shortfall in the ranks of math and science teachers, so it's putting its money where its brains are, offering financial assistance to any employee who quits the firm to teach those subjects. More than 250,000 math and science teachers will be needed in 3 years to help the U.S. compete effectively in business around the world. So IBM will give participants in its new Transition to Teaching program up to $15,000 worth of tuition and stipends. And Paul, the company says it has a wonderful resource of experienced workers who aren't ready to stop contributing when they leave the firm.
Well, it all adds up to what sounds like a good idea to me.
Same here.
That's my undivided opinion.
I happen to agree with you. It's a great idea. That's Nightly Business Report for Friday, September 16th. I'm Susie Garob. Have a great weekend, everyone. The same to you, Paul.
And you as well, Susie. I'm Paul Kangas, wishing all of you the best of goodbyes.
Nightly Business Report is made possible by Franklin Templeton Investments, providing a unique perspective through the specialized investment expertise of Franklin Templeton Mutual Series and Fiduciary Trust. Franklin Templeton Investments, gain from our perspective.
Don't let your nest egg get away from you. Objective financial advice can help. A.G. Edwards, for 118 years, fully invested in our clients.
This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. For more information about investing, you may order Nightly Business Report's home video, How Wall Street Works, by calling 1-800-535-5864. This program is available in either the VHS or DVD format.
We are PBS.
Funding for local broadcast of Nightly Business Report has been provided by viewers like you and by the following. IMS Capital Management and the IMS family of no-load mutual funds, celebrating 17 years of serving Northwest investors. IMS Capital Management.
You're invited on a very special journey.
Dream away to a land where a song is free.
Join Helmut Lottie as he celebrates the people and traditions of Russia. Don't miss this lavish production. Helmut Lottie, From Russia with Love.
Join us tonight at 9:30 here on OPB. Business partners Freightliner Group